Hello Year 6, I hope you've all had a lovely weekend and are feeling refreshed and ready to start this week's learning. I'm taking over with maths this week, so get yourselves ready, let's get started. I'll start today's lesson with a TT Rockstars shout out. This is to the top 5 children in Year 6 who have earned the most coins over the last 7 days. So I've given you 2 dojo points each. Well done Kyra, Harrison, Erin, Samson and Blossom. Okay, so we've been looking at fractions for the last couple of weeks. We're moving on to something different today, but I wanted to give you a starter task looking at the 4 operations with fractions so that you can have a practice and make sure we're really understanding the 4 methods and making sure we don't forget them. So can you have a go at these 4 fraction questions? Pause the video and have a go. Welcome back. Let's check your answers. So remember that when you are multiplying 2 fractions, you first of all need to multiply the numerators. 2 times 4 is 8. Then you need to multiply the denominators. So 3 times 5 is 15, giving us 8/15. You can mark your own. When we are adding fractions, however, we need to make sure that the denominators are the same. So we need to find an equivalent fraction by using our multiples knowledge. So 2 times 5 is 10, so we can change the numerator as well by multiplying by 2 to give us 4/10. That's equivalent to 2/5. We can then keep our denominator the same and add our numerators, so giving us 7/10. Okay, when we are dividing fractions, we can use the keep, change, flip method. So we keep 3/4 the same, change the divide sign to a multiply, and then we flip 6 as a whole number would be 6/1, remember? We flip that fraction to 1/6. Then we do our next step, which is multiplying. So we can do 3 times 1, multiply the numerators, and 4 times 6, multiply the denominators, giving us 3/24. Okay, again with subtraction, and when we're subtracting fractions, we need to have the same denominator, so look for a common multiple. Okay, we can change that 1/8 by multiplying it by 4. We can then multiply this by 4 as well, so that's equivalent, isn't it? 4/8 is the same as a half. We can then keep on denominator the same and subtract 4 from 7, giving you 3/8. Well done if you got all of those right. Okay, if not, don't worry, we'll keep practicing that in our arithmetic starters this week. Okay, so we are moving on from fractions to decimals this week, which is a really important part of Year 6 maths. Today's learning objective is to understand place value in numbers with up to 3 decimal places. Okay, so why do we need to learn about decimals then? Well, they're all around us. We use them for money, we use them for baking or on packets of food to show weight, we can use them for measuring length. And even time uses decimals. So lots of different measurements and money particularly. Can you think of any more examples when we might use decimals in real life? There are lots more examples. Okay, so some key vocabulary you'll need for today then. So we can have whole numbers. For example, 17 is a whole number. The next biggest whole number would be 18, and we can see that on a number line here. When we have a decimal number, we have a number using a decimal point and then 1 or more digits after the decimal point. So 17.5 would be an example of a decimal number. If we put 17.5 on our number line, we can see that it is between 17 and 18, exactly halfway between. So the dot we have between a whole number and the decimal part of the number is called a decimal point. The digits that come after the decimal point are in a decimal place. Okay, we can see that this number here has 1 decimal place because it's got 1 digit after the decimal point, whereas this number has 3 decimal places. It's got 3 digits after the decimal point. So for our learning objective today, we are looking at decimal numbers with up to 3 decimal places. Okay, we can have decimals with more than that, but this will be what we look at in year 6. Last year in year 5, you looked at numbers with 2 decimal places. This year we move on and look at numbers with 3 decimal places. I'd like you to have a think about the titles that we use for a place value chart, because place value charts are really useful to help us understand the place value of decimals. So have a think, that's our decimal point here. Okay, what would each of the columns be called? Can you give them a title? Pause the video and have a think. Welcome back. Okay, so there are some different ways to write the column titles. Let's just have a look so we understand the different ways. So we have here, we've had the thousands column, sometimes shown as a TH, the hundreds column with a H, tens with a T, ones with an O. Then we've got our decimal point. After that, in our first decimal place, we've got the tenths column, sometimes shown as a fraction, 1/10, or abbreviated to TTH. Then we've got the hundredths column, okay, sometimes shown as the fraction 100th or HTH, and the thousandths column, 1,000th as a fraction or THTH. Okay, so just some different ways of showing the place value column titles. But just to help you remember, if you're drawing your own place value chart, to remember the order, we can see that it is mirroring the tens, hundreds and thousands. This way is mirrored in the decimal point this way, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, okay, with the th sound at the end. So just a way to help you remember it. So we use the decimal point to separate the whole from the parts of a whole. Remember that when one whole is divided into 10 parts, we call it a tenth. And when one whole is divided into 100 parts, we call it a hundredth. It's exactly the same with thousandths. When one whole is divided into 1,000 parts, we call it a 1,000th. Okay, so here we've got a number in a place value chart. Okay, we can see the ones, the decimal point, the tenths, the hundredths and the thousandths columns. Okay, and each number is represented by counters here. So we can see that there are 1, 2, 3 ones in this number. There are 1, 2 tenths. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 hundredths. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thousandths. So if I was going to write that number in digits, I would write 3 ones, decimal points, 2 tenths, 4 hundredths, and 5 thousandths. So I would read that number as 3.245. This question is asking me to draw a number on a place value chart, so I'm going to use counters to show the number. The number is 1.343, so I need to match up my decimal point to here and then think, well, how many ones is it? And I can see I've got 1 1. 1 1, 3 tenths, because that's the column after my decimal point. 1, 2, 3. Next column, 4 hundredths. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the next column, the thousandths column, 1, 2, 3. Let's check. 1.343. Okay, let's have a go at another one then. This question says draw the number 70.01 on a place value chart. Okay, I have to be careful here because I've got zeros in. So again, match up my decimal point. Okay, I got no ones. This number here, 7, is in the tens column. So I've got 7 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tens. Okay, I've got no ones. That 0 is a placeholder to hold the value. and hold the space in the column, showing me that that is representing the tens. I've got no tenths and I've got 1/100th. Okay, so remember that zeros can be placeholders. This question is asking me to write the number shown in digits. So I need to look carefully at each place. So I can see that I've got no tens, so I don't need to worry about that column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. Then I need to remember my decimal points. Then I've got 2 tenths, 3 hundredths, and 9 thousandths. So my number is 5.239. Okay, let's have a go at this one then. I have got 1, 2, 3, 4 tens, 1, 1, decimal points, always remember that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths, no hundredths, so I need to remember to put my placeholder 0 there to show there's no hundredths, and 2 thousandths. Okay. Right, now I've shown you how to use a place value chart to show numbers and then write them. I'd like you to have a bit of a think, so listen carefully. Draw a number which has 7 tens, 4 tenths, 2 hundredths and 5 thousandths. Then write it in digits. Can you have a go on your piece of paper, pause the video and have a try? Welcome back. Hopefully you've spotted that there were no ones. Okay, we had to have 7 tens, no ones, then a decimal point, 4 tenths, 2 hundredths and 5 thousandths. So we should have drawn our diagram like this with a space here and then had 70.425. Well done if you got that right. Okay, so this will be familiar to a lot of people, but if you feel like you need some more practice with decimal numbers and what the columns represent, can you head to this website? There's some more explanation and there's a quiz and a little activity for you to have a go at. So you decide if you need a bit more practice with that. Let's have a look at some questions then that really question our understanding of what the digits in decimal numbers mean. So, in which number does the digit 3 have the highest value? Have a little think. So for this sort of question, it might be helpful to write on the names of the columns to help you think about. So let's have a look at the 3 here then. We can see that this is the tenths column and this is the hundredths column. So if I wanted to write that on, it might help me think of the 3 meaning 3 hundredths. Here I can see that this 3 is in a different column. It's in the tenths column. So if you wanted to write it on, you could do. That is showing you that this 3 is representing 3 tenths. Okay, so 3 tenths if you wanted to write it as a fraction. Okay, whereas this is 3 hundredths. So we can see that fraction and decimal equivalence is useful here. This one, this is the tenths column, this is the hundredths column again. So this number is again representing 3 hundredths. So let's go back to the question then. Now we've understood what the 3 is representing in each number. It says, in which number does the digit 3 have the highest value? Okay, so I can see that if a 3 is in the tenths column, it is higher than a 3 in the hundredths column. Okay, so my answer would be this one here, the one in the middle. This represents 3 tenths. Well done if you got that right. Okay, this question is asking you which one is the odd one out. So you've got A, B, C and D. Which of those is the odd one out? Can you give the number in digits and explain your answer? Pause the video and have a think. Welcome back. Okay, so for this type of question, I would always recommend writing out each of the numbers in digit form so you can compare them easily. That one's already done. So let's have a look at this one. We have got 5 ones, decimal point, because we're working with decimals, no tenths, make sure we remember our place value, 5 hundredths, and 5 thousandths. So I can already see that those are the same. Let's have a go at C. 5.55. 5.55. I can now see that that one's a different one. Let's do this one and check, because we always want to make sure. Okay, let's have a look at D. Now this one's a bit trickier because of how it's worded. Okay, it's saying 505 hundredths. Okay, so I need to be careful here. If I've got 5 hundredths, that would fit in because it's one digit in my hundredths column. Okay, if I've got 505, if I've got more than one digit in my hundredths column, I'm going to need to put digits to the left because it's going to be bigger than just 5 hundredths. So I can put my 0 and my 5 here. Now if this is my hundredths column, this is going to be my tenths column, and this is going to be my ones column. So my decimal point would be here. Okay, so 505 hundredths and 5 thousandths. Don't forget that on the end. Okay, so when we can compare them, we can see clearly that C is the odd one out because this was 5.55 and all of the others describe 5.055. They are all the same. Okay, the next question is a bit of a problem-solving one. It says use the digit cards to create the greatest and smallest number possible. So you're using these cards in any order, putting them into the place value columns to find the greatest number, and then use them again to find the smallest number. Think about your place value, pause the video and have a go. Welcome back. Okay, so when we're finding the greatest number, you want to look for the greatest digit card first because you want to put that on the left, don't you, to make the biggest number. Then your next biggest, next biggest, next biggest, and the smallest number here because that will make your greatest number, 76.542. Okay, when we're finding the smallest number, do the opposite. Look for your smallest digit and put that on the left in the tens column, 24.567. Okay, well done if you got that right. Okay, our next question says, Barney is thinking of a number. My number has 3 decimal places. The 10th digit is greater than 6. It is between 7.69 and 7.75. The 100th digit is smaller than the thousandths digit. What could Barney's number be? Find 8 possibilities. That tells me that there might be more than 8 altogether, but I only need to find 8 possibilities. So I would start by drawing out the decimal places that I will need. So I can see that my number is between 7.69 and 7.75. So I know it's going to have one digit in the ones column, it's going to have a decimal point, and I've been told that it's got 3 decimal places. So I might like, sorry, that should be straight. Might like to draw out 3 decimal place lines. Okay, that will tell me how many digits I need. Right, let's have a look at the clues again then. So I can see it's between 7.69 and 7.75, so the ones digit must be 7. Then I would look at a different clue to help me work out the 10th digit, which is this column here. So the 10th digit is greater than 6. Think about these 2 clues here and have a go at working out what the 10th digit must be, and then look at the rest of the clues to figure out your hundredths and thousandths digits. See if you can find 8 possibilities. Pause the video and have a go. Welcome back. Okay, so this digit here has to be a 7 because I know it's greater than 6, but it's got to be smaller than this number here, 7.75. Okay, so that one has to be 7. Well done if you spotted that. Then I can work out my other 2 digits. Now there are lots of possibilities for those. Here are some examples you could have had, but as long as you satisfied those criteria, your answer is correct. It's all a case of looking at the clues that you've got, testing it out and seeing if you can find some possibilities. So well done if you had a go at that one and thought about all of the clues. Okay, we've had a good look at some different types of questions. I'm now going to show you your Chilli questions for you to have a go at independently. Each Chilli has 4 questions. I'm going to show you them one at a time so that you can see them clearly on the screen. Okay, you can pause the video for each question so you can see it and then have a go. And at the end, I'll show you the answers. Chilli 1 then. Chilli 2. And Chilli 3. Okay, here are the answers. So these are the answers to Chilli 1. You can mark your own work. Okay, remember for question 4, you only needed to put 4 of those values. The answers for Chilli 2. Question 4, there were quite a few possibilities, so I can't give you all of those. If you're not sure on that one, you could always email the Year 6 email address. And here are the answers to Chilli 3. Let me just zoom in on that for you. Well done. I wonder how you got on with your Chillis today. Okay, just to finish off, I have set you a task on My Maths today called Decimal Places. So have a look at that if you want a bit more practice. Well done and thanks for joining me for Maths today.